everybody. Welcome to the Carnivore Revolution. I'm Serena.
And I'm Jess. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe below.
Today we are talking about 5 tips for getting started on the carnivore diet. I have 5 and Jess has 5, so you get 10 tips.
Yeah, 5 tips for newbies from each of us. We did it kind of like the other video where we each wrote down our 5 tips that we would give a newbie. We don't know what the other person wrote.
My top 5 are eliminate processed foods. Just do it. If you're thinking about getting started, just eliminate the processed foods. And don't tell people right off the bat what you're doing. Also, don't make excuses. Keep bacon on hand always, and drink lots of water and eat enough. I figured out how to squeeze 2 into 1.
None of mine are the same. I love when we
Awesome. I
we need
know.
to do these some more. But my number 1 is eat what you crave. Don't just try to force yourself to eat meat you don't like. Number 2 is join a community. Number 3 is don't focus on trends. Number 4 is take pictures. And number 5 is research and read and learn.
Oh, good ones. That's so funny how ours are like, they're not even just not the same. They're very different from each other.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do my first one and then you do your first one, okay? Okay, so eliminate processed foods. I feel like that's pretty simple and it's basic for carnivore, but you really don't think about it like in the grand scheme of things, and the amount of foods that you eat that are run through some sort of process, whether they are created in a lab or they are created in a plant somewhere, how many ingredients they have. Just think about the sheer magnitude of the amount of things that you eat that are not whole food. So if you're thinking about getting started, the very first thing you should do is cut out all of those foods. There will be a withdrawal process that your body goes through, and it's totally worth it in the end. And you will be healthier and you will be happier and you will thank us later.
Yeah. And be careful about carnivore processed foods too.
Yes.
Because you need to read the labels. If you're a jerky, for example, it is so difficult to find a jerky that doesn't have some sort of seed oil in it, sugar, and other weird questionable ingredients. So even be careful with carnivore processed foods that you
absolutely
sausage, things like that. So mine is eat what you crave. In the beginning, I feel like carnivore can be intimidating to people because you see carnivores who've been doing it for years and they're eating these huge steaks, eating tons of fat. If that's not what you like right now, don't try to force yourself to eat something that you don't like. If you're craving pork, or if you're craving chicken, or if you're craving a burger instead of a steak, eat those things, because this diet is meant to be for you, not for anyone else. So if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to stick with it. So make sure you're eating things you enjoy.
Yeah, and it's meant to be freeing. So don't feel like you always have to follow everybody else's rules. I mean, obviously, if you're going to say you're a carnivore, you should be a carnivore. You should eat, mostly or only animal products. But just in general, don't feel like you have to do what everybody else is doing. Also, don't feel like you have to have organ meats, because that was a huge turnoff for me in the beginning and still is kind of mostly. I will eat liver every now and then, but don't feel like if you listen to like hardcore carnivores talking about it, or you see like Liver King and you see all these people eating all this stuff raw, and you see all these, don't feel like you have to take it to that extreme. And don't feel like if you are going to, that you have to do those things right away. You see all these people doing all these things that seem crazy and you think, no way. Don't let that turn you off.
Your taste buds will change. You may not like it now, but you will start to develop a taste for things and get a little more adventurous, like Serena's doing with eating some raw fat here and there and things like that. So don't try to force yourself into anything.
Number 2, don't tell people. I mean, don't start today and then go tell everybody you know at your office or at your school or wherever you work or the places you go. Don't start, today or tomorrow and then go to Christmas dinner like the next day and say, hey guys, I'm a carnivore, I only eat meat. That would be a huge mistake, because you're going to let people talk you out of it and in turn talk yourself out of it before you even give it a chance. So the best thing to do is just say no thank you. In the beginning, I would say give yourself 30 days maybe before you start shouting from the rooftops about how amazing you feel and all the things that you've healed. Wait a little while to do that until you have convinced yourself already that this is the right thing to do. Once you feel better, you've gone through the carb withdrawals and you're not hearing those voices in your head still telling you how unhealthy this is, because you will be your own science experiment and you will feel so much better. And then you can tell people and you can back it up with the things that you've learned over those 30 days by watching many people on YouTube and Instagram and watching us and watching other people and learning all of those things. And then you'll have things to back it up and you'll be prepared for that conversation when it's time. If you go around telling people right away, it is not going to work out probably.
I don't think I started posting things on social media till a year later or something like that. I didn't tell people. That's a good one. Okay, so number 2 for me is join a community. It's really, really tough. Even just with what Serena is saying with telling people, and people are going to tell you that you're crazy. So you need to have like-minded people in your corner that you can go to for support, because this is a very extreme diet to people who are unaware of its healing benefits. So join a community, find people that are like-minded, find a support group. There's tons of Facebook groups. We have a Facebook group. There's a ton of people on Instagram, YouTube. Just connect with other carnivores, because you will need that support system in the beginning, because it can be very difficult to just constantly be told that you're crazy and you're going to kill yourself.
Finding that community and finding that support and making friends with other carnivores is definitely what kept me going and helped me in the beginning. I was just scouring the internet and watching all of these videos on YouTube and listening to all these people. And it made such a huge difference in my mindset and how I felt, and just kind of gave me the courage to continue. And once you get that courage and you just kind of take off with it, your life will change. So my number 3 is don't make excuses. Don't say, oh, I could never do that because I can't give up my blank, whatever that is, because that's on you. That's you giving up before you even give yourself a chance to start. We're always giving things up, and don't act like this is different than any other diet that you've ever been on. You've always had to give stuff up for a better way of eating. If you're like me, let's face it, you're a food and a carb addict, and it's going to be hard. Giving up anything is hard. Anytime I've ever gone on a new diet or a new way of eating, I had to give things up, and that's something you just have to face. So don't say, oh, I can't do that because I couldn't give up the cupcakes, or, oh, I can't do that because I couldn't give up my diet soda. You know what? Make it work for you and try it. And as long as you are eating much more meat than you are processed foods, you're still going to be doing better. So definitely take that chance and move forward a little bit with it. And eventually you'll start to feel so much better. You'll feel like maybe you can do it, but just basically don't make excuses. Don't say, oh, I can't do that because I can't give up, whatever, because things are hard, right? Is life going to be harder giving up that thing that you think is so hard, or is life hard now? Because it's probably hard now.
That's so true. And like you said, you don't have to go hardcore carnivore in the beginning. Like my dad was diagnosed type 2 diabetic, and he just added in more meat to his diet and cut out more sugar and processed foods. He didn't eliminate them entirely. He just reduced his intake. He reversed his type 2 diabetes just with reducing it and not completely eliminating it. So take baby steps if you need to, because at least you're going in the right direction. So my number 3 is don't focus on trends. So when you do join a community and start getting involved in social media and the carnivore space in social media, you will notice that there are certain trends that come and go, and certain things that people will start doing, and you'll just start seeing it everywhere. Like high fat is really popular right now, and it is helping a lot of people. Eating raw meat and things like that. Don't get swept up in the trends. Don't try to follow the trends. Don't do something just because you saw someone on Instagram or YouTube doing it. Just focus on you, focus on eating the meat you crave, spending time with like-minded people. Don't get swept up in the trendiness of it all.
I think that's a hard thing, because when I first started carnivore, people were fasting left and right. Everybody was fasting. And I was like, oh, so fasting goes along with carnivore. Okay, I have to do that too. And really the beginning should be about getting through that first 30 days, because it is hard. Getting through that first 30 days, nourishing your body, healing your body. It's not even really about weight loss in the beginning. Many people lose weight in the beginning, don't get me wrong, but it really needs to be more about healing and getting better and learning this way of eating and figuring out your, your hunger cues and knowing when you're full. And that's a huge point that a lot of people miss, is that those 3 meals a day are really important in the beginning. And so I think that's something that we get lost on, because so many people do 1 meal a day. So many people are counting their calories, counting macros. And so I agree with you. In the beginning, especially like the first 30 days, should just be about learning, feeling good, and healing. My number 4 is keep bacon on hand always. Always have bacon ready for when you have some sort of a sugar or carb craving, because they will come after the first couple of weeks. You won't have as many, but definitely always keep some cooked bacon on hand. A lot of people call it purse bacon, because you can actually take that bacon with you and have it in your purse or in your car most of the day, and then like snack on it throughout the day when you need it. And it's not going to go bad because it's cured. So bacon is one of those really portable foods that people don't really realize can be so portable. You can also dehydrate it and take it with you like that. It turns into, like a bacon jerky, like beef jerky. And so it lasts a really long time like that. Just always keep something like bacon on hand, so that you have something when those cravings strike, so that you don't have yet another excuse to go off the rails or eat something that's not on plan because you weren't prepared.
And I like prosciutto too as a snack, and just snacking on it, or if you put it in the air fryer for a little bit, it turns into a crisp, like a chip.
Yes.
My number 4 is take pictures. That is one thing I really, really regret, because before, even with my skin, I don't have a lot of pictures of when I had acne, because if I ever saw a picture of myself with bad skin, I deleted it right away. I threw it away. I just got rid of the evidence, and I don't have any before and after pictures. I have a few, but I don't have actual, like, me standing in front of a mirror. This is my before picture. Now this is my after picture. I have to find random pictures on Facebook of me in the past. I always thought, I'm not going to change, so I don't want to keep reminding myself of how much I hate myself. So I didn't take those pictures and I didn't save those pictures. But you will change if you stick with it. So you're going to want to have those pictures to show to people when they ask how Carnivore helps you. You can just say, just look at this. So take pictures.
Yeah, I agree. I always tell people who are getting started to take a straight on selfie of their face and then take another one 30 days later, because you won't believe the difference, the way the inflammation goes down, the way it seems like you're aging backwards in just even that short amount of time. It makes a huge difference. So I definitely agree. It's great to have those pictures. And plus you might need the encouragement sometimes. You have rough days where you think, is this really worth it? And so it's really nice to go back and look at a before picture so you can see the difference.
Yeah, and if you have like body dysmorphia or something like that, like something I struggled with, when you are changing, you don't realize it. So it's nice to have those pictures to look back on and then see yourself now and actually see, wow, I do look very different. Because if you're just relying on your own eyes, looking at yourself in the mirror, sometimes you can still just think that you look exactly the same as you did before.
My number 5 is drink lots of water and make sure you're eating enough. So those two kind of go hand in hand, because I wasn't doing either of those things in the beginning. It's really easy to feel full really quickly on the carnivore diet, so that you have the nourishment for your body to heal and start to get better. So that's something that's really hard, especially for women, because a couple of hamburger patties make you feel full because you're not used to the fat and you're not used to that much protein. And then if you drink a lot of water on top of that, it makes you feel even more full. So it's really important to spread those meals out. Make sure you get 3 meals a day, and make sure you're drinking, and it sounds like a lot, I know, you need 3 quarts to a gallon of water a day, especially in the beginning, just to help flush things out, because your body is going to need to get rid of so many of those toxins. And eventually you might be able to lower the water a little bit. Not everybody drinks that much every day. Now, I feel like in the beginning, especially, it's really important to wash all that stuff out, the toxins and the oxalates, like everything just needs to go somewhere. So it's really important in the beginning. And again, it'll be hard because you're going to feel full from a couple of hamburger patties a couple of times a day. You won't think you need more than that, but you absolutely need to be sure that you're eating enough food and drinking enough water.
I definitely agree with that. In the beginning, or not necessarily the beginning, maybe about a year into it, which is weird that it hit me like a year later, I started getting cramps, leg cramps, Charlie horses. And then when I started drinking more water, they went away. So I definitely understand the water thing. I didn't take electrolytes. I just started drinking more water, and I don't get Charlie horses anymore. So, so my number 5 is research and learn, read, watch these videos. There's tons of videos on YouTube, like Sean Baker, Judy Cho, Dr. Barry, Ben Bickman is really good. Dr. Chafee, Dr. Kiltz. Yeah, there's a ton of information, good podcasts out there for you just to absorb and learn. And Serena touched on this too in the beginning of when people do argue with you and tell you that you are killing yourself and you're going to die of a heart attack. You need to have that knowledge so you can stand up for yourself and tell them, no, actually, this is what's true. That is incorrect. Because if you start this diet and you have no idea anything about cholesterol, Ansel Keys, heart attacks, things like that, and someone comes at you and says, well, the 7 countries study says that blah, 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 and you have no idea what they're talking about, you're not going to be able to defend yourself. Don't get overwhelmed with researching in the beginning, but just start looking into it and just start listening to these podcasts and just start trying to absorb as much information as you can without overwhelming yourself, because it will be a great tool and it will build your confidence. Knowledge will help build your confidence in what you're doing.
Yeah, and definitely look for some good books too. Like Dr. Sean Baker has The Carnivore Diet. That's a good book. And then Big Fat Surprise is a really good book. I'm reading it for the 3rd time. I would recommend it to anybody, carnivore or not, because you will be shocked about the information in that book. So look out for books like that. Judy Cho has The Carnivore Cure. And then Ben Bickman has a really good book called Why We Get Sick. So you can learn from the books and from the podcasts and from YouTube videos. And you can get really good information that way so that you know how to defend yourself when it's time.
Yeah, and Lies My Doctor Told Me by Ken Berry. That one is so easy to read. It's a quick read and it is full of really good information. I just got the Audible on that one and listened to it in just a couple hours. That one's a really good one too. Well, I think that wraps it up. I really enjoyed this one. It was surprising. I love when we do these and we don't know what the other person wrote. So yeah, I hope these tips helped you. Let us know in the comments below if you have any other tips you would give a newbie, or if you found any of these tips helpful.
And join us next time here on the Carnivore Revolution.